When Don and I were in Colorado, we decided now it's time for our boy to go to a church. We hadn't gone to church. Don and I were Christians, and we married, and we were very like-minded and everything, but too busy with school, too busy with everything, and we decided it was time. So I won't go into the story. I don't want to go too deep, but he ended up going to a vacation Bible school, and he came home one day. And told Donna that I really want to go to heaven. Now, I'm not sure how he said it, and I'm not sure what it was, but it really upset Donna because there was almost a premonition involved and a speaking from the Lord. And whatever it was, it stayed with her. He had such a desire at 4 that was not the typical kind of desire to go to heaven. So, fast forward. He's diagnosed with leukemia. After 4 years of struggling with it, I was up in a room in top of a hospital in Seattle looking down, and he'd just had his chest opened up and had a biopsy taken out of his chest. He was in a lot of pain. Any of you that have chest surgery can relate to that. And he never questioned why or anything. He always had a positive attitude. But at that particular night, when I was alone with him, he looked at me and he said, "Dad, I'm ready to go to heaven." Now, I broke. That was my breaking point. That's when I finally let go, because I was trying to hang on to medicines. We pretty much had gone through everything and nothing worked. And that's when I broke and I said, "Lord," that's when I knew I was going to lose him. So, he died, and fast forward again. I'm in the car with my older son, and my older son starts talking to me. He was only, at that time, I think about 9 or 10. He starts telling me all about heaven. And I look at him and I said, where did you learn all that? And he said, "Well, when we were in bed and sharing our bedroom and bunk beds, Trevor was always telling me about heaven. He was always teaching him about heaven." So you go a little farther, and turns out Trevor also instilled the dream to be a jet pilot for the Navy. And I never thought Jake would get that far, but he did. He went through it, and there's a lot of timing involved as to how fast you progress through the training and whether you get into the training and whether there'll be a position open or not. There's just a lot of serendipitous type things that you don't have control over. And, well, lo and behold, he passed all this stuff. He went through all this, and he had his first solo. And you don't know when this is going to happen. He has his first solo. He says, "I've got my first solo today." And we said, "You're kidding me." He says, "Yeah. Would you believe it's Trevor's birthday?" So he goes up alone, and he's up in the heavens, the atmospheric heavens. And I said, "Well," we asked him, what'd you do?" He says, "I just talked to Trevor, and we just had a ball up there." They gave him a space up there where they could do anything they wanted with this plane. So I was thinking about that recently because we just had Trevor's death anniversary, and I was thinking about Trevor. It always comes up, and I thought, God, he had such it was never about anything behind. It was never about anything in the present. He really, really looked forward to heaven, and I thought to myself, how much have I done that? What's my Christian walk dealt with? It's mostly my past, either dealing with it or the present, what's going to happen and what's going to do, and not much about the future. So I got to thinking about that, and I thought to myself, okay, it's a Christmas talk. How am I going to tie that in? And I thought to myself, well, what gift has God given me that I would think is, the greatest gift? So I'd ask you that. It's a question. You don't have to answer it, because there's a lot of answers, and a lot of them are correct. And if you could say to me, Jesus Christ, for sure, that number one, boom, Jesus Christ. Any of these gifts are going to come back to Christ on the cross, in the gift where God gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So that's settled. But I kind of want to make it a little more personal. I want to kind of bring it down to a 4-year-old thinking about that anticipation, the same kind of anticipation we used to have as kids, that of something that has been promised and it's given before us, and we can't wait. We're looking at it. What is it? What is it that you have that's like that? So just keep that in your mind. Now, my answer, which would be no surprise to most of you, is holiness. I've talked a lot about it. Trying to understand whole creation, you need to understand holiness. Trying to understand salvation, you need to understand holiness. To understand transformation, you need to understand holiness. Well, holiness is what's so... Why is that important, or not important, but why is that such an anticipation that I have? Well, it's because it's the key to everything. It's the key that opens the gates of heaven. It opens the gates of heaven and allows me to enter into heaven unafraid, totally confident, because the holiness that I have is the holiness that God gave me, the holiness that Jesus Christ had and imputed on me. I have that same holiness, and I have that. And so I kind of want to just talk about heaven, because I don't know that I spend that much time thinking about it. So I got into this study on heaven, and I got in over my head right off the bat. You get into Revelations, and there's a lot there. And I kind of want to skip all of the most of Revelations, and I'm going to want to zone in on the last 2 chapters. I want to get to the actual anticipated presence of holiness and what it opens up for me for my eternal life. Agreed? Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of ideas on heaven. Not going to go into all of them, but there's a lot of different ideas. It turns out that there's people that apparently think they've been there or not been there, and you've read the books, and there's a lot on that. I'm not really going to go into that. There's other faiths that have ideas on heaven. I was talking with Donna the other day, the Muslims, this idea of having 70 virgins. I mean, that's what they have to look forward to. A lot of people think of heaven as that kind of they're thinking of it in the flesh, and there's going to be all this fleshly things that you're going to kind of have. You're going to get to have anything you want and get to do anything you want. Well, obviously, when they're talking about 70 virgins, I guess they're talking about sex and having 70 virgins. And I thought, whoa, I don't know. That would be tough to handle. And then when you throw in on top of that, Jesus, he says there's not even going to be any sex. Then what do you got? You got 70 virgins. You got 70 wives. Woo-hoo. You might want to second guess whether it's heaven or not. At any rate, that. And then I thought, well, what do the women get in that faith? And I tried looking it up. They don't really get anything. And I thought, well, that's weird. At any rate, a lot of different ideas. Then you have these people that say, well, I want to go to heaven. I mean, I don't. I'd rather go to hell, because in heaven they just, I want to go with my friends and we're going to party. Well, that's just ignorance. Just ignorance, because the Bible is very clear about what hell is: eternal fire and damnation. Jesus characterized as the gnashing and weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's just stupid. I know you're not supposed to use this stupid word, but stupid is stupid. So let's unwrap this about heaven. But when we talk about it, let's talk about what's been canonized, and not what you read in a book about a kid who went to heaven, came back, or any of these kinds of things. Let's talk about what we know from the Bible. And you really have a couple of visuals, and there's other things that I'll be throwing in, but you have Ezekiel's ascension to the throne through a vision, and then you have, of course, John's. Ezekiel's is I can't interpret it, to be honest with you. It's you look at it and you go, or you read it and you go, wow, it's kind of, there's flashing lights, these angelic beings that have all these eyes and wings and four faces, and there's fire and there's brilliant light, and there's they move quickly and synchronous, and there's jewels, sparkling jewels everywhere, and it's just a very, very, what you would say is glorious. It just puts the glory of heaven above us in understanding. And so you see the picture of that, or you read that, and there's a lot of symbolism, I guess, or allegory. I don't know. I think he's telling us what he sees, and he's talking about it the best he can. But I really didn't go into that either. And then when you get to John, he gets caught up on the throne. He's taken up in the Spirit in Revelations. And again, you get this similar picture of the throne. It's very similar to Ezekiel's, and there's this description of all these precious stones, and it pictures heaven as bright colors and a realm of inexpressible splendor and delight. And there's thunder, and there's lightning, and there's immeasurable glory and power and majesty, and the sea of glass that's brilliant, and rainbow colors and flashing colors, and again, these creatures, angelic beings that have the same characteristics that Ezekiel had. And what I wanted to say is, this is the backdrop of the presence, and this kind of color that we're talking about isn't like going to a fireworks display. This is natural stuff, and the best way to kind of put it would be what we see in sunsets, what you see at those Alaskan lights. What are they called? Yeah, I don't have my hearing aids, so I can only hear myself. So sorry about that, but I think you know what I meant when I said the lights. But it's a everywhere kind of light show that is just magnificent, and it's beyond expression. And that's just the environment you're in. You're just in this glorious environment, and it's a display that is beyond us and more imaginable than we can say. The why of it all, Ephesians 2:7 says, so that in the coming ages he might show the immeasurable mercies, riches of his grace and kindness towards us in Christ Jesus. God's love allowing us into heaven and embracing us it's the fulfillment of his love. And you gotta, when you say, well, God is love, and that's true, he's love, but there has to be recipients of love, and that's us. And that fulfills his love. You can be full of love, but if you don't have anyone to display it on or do anything with, then it's not really fulfilled. So that's the why of it. He wants to express all of this, and this is going to all be expressed in heaven. It's expressed every day with us in a lot of different ways, but I want to talk about heaven, how that's going to be expressed, and he's just going to embrace us. And there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth and a new Jerusalem. Now, this is not the millennial rule. That is a renewed heaven and earth that is 1,000 years before this heaven and earth. So I want to, again, fast forward and go to the new heaven and earth and unpack this a little bit. 2 Peter 3:13, according to his promise, we are waiting for a new heaven, a new earth, in which righteousness dwells. The old will pass away by fire. And when it says that, you know we live on the crust of a big fireball. That's the earth. It's just a crust that we live on, but if you go deeper, it's a fireball. That's where the volcano pressure builds up and it all goes out. And that's what's inside. And it won't take much to destroy all that. All it takes is Jesus to say it's time, or God to say it's time. One and the same. And Jesus holds everything together. And when he says, let it go, it'll just go. It'll be that quick. And it'll be destroyed and it will be burned up. And all the galaxies and all those, there's 3 heavens in the Bible. There's the atmospheric heaven. Then there's the galaxy sphere. There's another name for that one. I can't think of it right now. And then there's the heavenly abode of God. That's the 3rd heaven. That's where John was transported up to in the Spirit. And so that's where he's seeing all this. There'll be, with this new earth, there'll be some similarities. There'll be some mountains, there'll be streams, there'll be trees, there's going to be streets in the city, gates, but there'll also be some new things. Did you know there'll be no sea, no water, no sea? It's going to all be land, a whole lot of land. If you think that right now that the earth that we are in is 3/4 sea, there won't be any in the new earth. So it's going to be pretty spacious. It's going to be one world under God. This is not the millennial rule that has other nations. It's going to be one rule under God. The dwelling place of God is with man, and we will be his privileged sons as one who conquers. That's what 1 John 5:4-5 says. There'll be no tears, no mourning, no death, no sickness, no hunger, no trouble, no calamities. More importantly, there will be no sin. It'll be holiness. Nothing of sin is allowed into this heaven, this holy place. And that's why we have to be holy. And that's why we will be holy. So that we can enjoy this presence of God and this wonderful place, heaven. The New Jerusalem. This is really, really something. The 3rd heaven is going to descend. The 3rd heaven is going to descend and engulf the 1st and 2nd heavens in this new creation of earth. Which, by the way, it doesn't take very long, the new creation. It's not billions and billions of years. It just happens quickly after the millennial rule. Of course, there's no more time anymore, so maybe I can't say that with any factual kind of thing. The New Jerusalem will descend. It'll be a 3rd heaven. It's going to be after the heaven and the earth, and it will be completely, fully furnished. John 14:3 says, I go to prepare a place for you. So this New Jerusalem's going to be prepared, and it's going to descend on earth from the 3rd heaven. 3rd heaven there is going to encompass it all. And it'll be the home of the spirits of the righteous, made perfect. That's Hebrews 12:22-23. Having the glory of God, no need for the sun. It'll be lighted, it'll be sparkling, it'll be permeating. All these jewels are going to be not just different types of jewels, but they're going to be pure. So pure that they're going to be transparent. And the refraction of all the light and the glory, it's going to be continuous, and it's going to be very pervasive, and it's going to be very, very beautiful, rainbowish like. Again, I can't describe it. It's hard to imagine it. It's just the way it was described by John. And he uses all these jeweled names, whether they're the actual jewels or it's just something that looks like the same color. Like you say, well, there's a blue, so that's or purple, there's an amethyst or something. Maybe it's a stone of some other kind, some godly kind, some out of ordinary, holy kind. So, this New Jerusalem, this is what kind of blew me away when I looked at this. John was placed on a mountain to see all this. And so he's placed on the mountain, and he's seeing the descension of Jerusalem. Now, I thought, well, okay, what mountain's that? It must be a pretty good mountain, because the size of Jerusalem was a cube. And it's 1,500, yeah, 1,500, is that right? It sounds crazy to me right now. Yeah, 1,500 mile square cube. 1,500 mile square cube. That's Jerusalem that's descending. And I thought to myself, well, where's John that he can see 1,500 miles coming down on something? It must have been quite a mountain he was on. So, I mean, we really are in an area that is out of our minds. This is really an incredible situation where he's at. He sees that. How do we know it's 1,500? Well, 1,500, it's what it said. He had an angel come and an angel measured it with this angel measuring rod. And that's the measurement they came up with. 1,500. And if you take that and multiply that to get a surface area, just the surface area, one floor, say one floor of that, you have, let's see, 2.25 square miles, million square miles. 2.25 million square miles. That's the first floor. Now, the distance of this 1,500 would be like Maine to Florida. So that's why I'm saying, where's John that he could see that big a thing coming down and settling? That's pretty amazing when you think about it. And so he was outside all that looking at it. And it's kind of like the astronauts looking down at the earth and seeing, getting this heavenly perspective. Well, he's in the third heaven, which is above that heaven. So yes, he was a pretty good distance from this sort of thing, and he was able to do this on a mountain, which is where's this mountain coming from that's that big? I mean, see, I don't have all the answers for this stuff, and it kind of blows my mind when I think about these things. This kind of stuff I roll in bed over at night thinking, wow. Surface area, 2.25 million square miles. London is only 621 square miles, to give you an idea. This could house over 100 billion people. It can house over 100 billion people, and has no problems accommodating the multitudes that would be there. And we're talking about, that's just one level. You got 1,500 miles square. You could have, that could be the second story, a third story. How many stories can you have? And these are all, this is where the mansions are, and this is our home. This is the home that we're going to have eternally. And not only our home, this is the home that God comes to, and He will be in the abode with us. And it's going to be incredible. And that to me is an amazing thing that I can't hardly wait for. I can wait, but I'm looking forward to it. I scared my grandkids at Thanksgiving because I was talking about heaven and how neat it'll be and how glad I was that I was going to go to it and how I was looking forward to it, and they kind of cringed. But what's not in heaven? Well, there's not going to be a temple, because God will be the temple, and God will be present with us. And there's no temple. There will be nothing there of that nature. It won't be stuffy liturgical things where we're sitting with harps and we're just singing and singing and singing and singing. It won't be like that. I mean, that's going to go on maybe, but it's going to be a continuous presence, continuous light, continuous comfort. Immeasurable joy, immeasurable peace. There's going to be a lot for us to look forward to. The light, by the way, is unique. It's God's glory. It's His source. It's not going to be a light that throws heat. You think, well, we're going to be all that, boy, I'm going to need some shade or something. It's going to drive me crazy. It's going to get a little too hot. No, it's not going to be that kind of light. There will be no security system, because God's in control, and all the enemies have been defeated. No need for water. There's a river that flows through. It's continuous. It's pure. There'll be plenty to eat. There will be the tree of life, what's called the tree of life. So no real needs. But above all, there'll be no curse. Curse will be gone. You know, the second law of thermodynamics talks about, it's one of the evidences of a curse. It means everything's winding down, and you lose energy through friction. And so you get a new house. It's great for 5 years. Then things start to fall apart. And then, now I'm in my 30 years in my house, and I'm always repairing stuff now. It's just winding down. It's winding down. The siding's starting to give, and a lot of different things. Well, everything winds down, but that won't happen in heaven. There is no curse. There is no winding down. It will always be new. It will always be strong. It will always be glorious. It will always be fresh. That in itself means, there'll be no handymen. Won't need them. So 1 Corinthians 2:9, just to back up what I'm saying in heaven, is there is no eye, what no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love him. So as much as we talk about it and think about it, we can't even imagine how good it's going to be. See, I think that's the childhood faith that Trevor had, and I need to have. And especially as I get older and I start to fade, I need to look. Granted, it's momentary light affliction, Paul says. But I need to balance that with the eternal weight of glory. And so, if you do that, you can go through anything. And you will have to go through anything. Look at you guys. I'm not talking to the spring chickens here. We're all fading. We're winding down. It's a reality. So, this precious promise of eternal weight of glory should be getting stronger in your hearts. It should be getting closer. You should be getting more anticipation. You should be looking forward to it. And all the other things we're dealing with, all of us, it's just momentary light affliction. Now if I said that when I was a young person, I said that to older people, they could probably, yeah, wait till you get that old. You can talk like that the way you are. Well, I'm having things happen to me now, and I'm telling you that I grab onto this more than I ever have. And that's the encouragement I want to give, and that's the hope I want to give. That's what I want to get across, is that it is an eternal weight of glory. Momentary light affliction, eternal weight of glory. Momentary light affliction, which you want. Eternal weight of glory. That's what's in store for us. And that should give you a great desire forever in the promise of the Holy God, intimate, unbroken fellowship with Christ, fellow heirs with Christ, rule and reign with Christ that continues through the millennial rule into the heavens. The full riches of heaven will be ours to possess and enjoy however we please. Now, that as I've gotten older, I'm really tiring this whole idea of legacy. I've mentioned this. There's really only two legacies. There's Satan's legacy and there's God's legacy. And which one do you have in you? And I have God's legacy in me, and I believe you guys do too. I'm not creating any legacy. My legacy is 2 generations at the most, and it's gone. You've heard me tell that. Well, now I'm having this what I'm hearing all the time, bucket lists. And I had a long bucket list when I was younger, and I've learned that aging is a matter of letting go. You let go and you let go and you let go. And then when I get to some of these places that are, their bucket lists, quite frankly, they're kind of, okay, that was great, but it didn't last very long. So here's a bucket list. This is number 1 bucket list. Heaven. Number 1. And I'm not going to tire of it. And it's going to be eternal. It's going to be so much better than what we have now. So much better. I mean, when I think of the beautiful mountains and the sunsets, we have a beautiful sunset view, and I see one every night, and I see all that, I think, whoa, this is great, but it's not even close. When I am in heaven, I am not going to sit up there and say, "Guy, I miss skiing," or "Guy, I kind of wish I could do what go the hiking in the mountains again," or whatever. That's not where we're going to be. That's going to all be past, and it's going to be gone. We won't even think about it. We are going to be so overwhelmed with the presence that we have in heaven. Now that's talking about the place that we're going to. But let's get it personal now. What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to you? What will we be like? Gloriously perfected, holy, conforming to the image of Christ fully, fit to be in a holy place because we are holy. Behold, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears, we shall be like him because we shall see him as he is. We're going to be like Christ. And he began a good work. And he'll bring it to completion in the day of Jesus Christ. Christ's perfect righteousness imputed to us, our justification, our glorification, are going to be instantaneous. And when we see his face, there will be no waiting period. There'll be no soul sleep. There's no purgatory. It's going to be instantaneous. We're going to be present with the Lord. What does all that look like? What does that perfection look like? What is holiness going to be for me or for you? What's it going to look like in you? No sin or sinful deeds. Free from evil. No unkind thoughts. No imperfections. No selfish desires. No useless words. All past sins forgiven and forgotten. No addictions, no temptation, no pain, suffering, source, no weeping. No persecution, division, or hate. No regrets. That's what it's going to be like. Can you imagine that? No. Can't imagine it. The day doesn't go by I don't do several of these, if not all of them. So I can't imagine it. Do I desire it? Would I love it? Oh, you bet I would love it. It'd be wonderful. Can't wait. Great gift. Holiness. Perfect pleasure, Psalm 16:11. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand and pleasure forevermore. And here's the one I like. Because this is my nature. I just am this kind of guy. First, I didn't even have the passage here. It's 13:12, whatever it is. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. I'm going to have a knowledge that's going to be much more complete, and it's going to be as complete as I could possibly desire. I don't have that right now. I go crazy over certain things. As my friend has told me, I'm more of an apologist. I'm always doing apologetics, and I got to answer everything. My wife has told me, she says, "Why do you keep asking the questions nobody can answer?" And it's just who I am, I'm honest about that. I would have been one of the first to say I want to put my fingers in the wound. You know, I would have been a doubting Thomas. There's no doubt about it. That has really faded in me. I can't tell you how that's changed in me. I have had a strong science background, but man, I am letting go of that, and I am just getting stronger in my faith, pure faith. Just Lord, I believe. I was blind, but now I see. I believe. And you talk about this stuff, I could shoot holes in this stuff if I was, that's crazy. That's it's all in your mind. I could do that. But I don't do that at all now. I see this as truth. I see it as the absolute truth, and I strongly admit it and will confess to it, and in absolute joy over it, because you know why? Because there is nothing out there that offers me anything more. And I've been through a lot in life already, and I hang on to these treasures, and I hold on to them with strongly, as Peter, who said, "Where else shall we go?" So we'll have this knowledge. We'll have perfect comfort. We'll have perfect love. We'll have perfect joy. Today, our joy, we have joy, but there's always a little sorrow and death mixed and grief and tears and a lot of other things. This is going to be a joy that's going to be undiluted in heaven. But we're also going to have a glorified body, a resurrected physical body. It needed to be physical because we're going to be in a physical place. It's going to be an actual new heaven and new earth. It's going to be there's going to be a complete resurrection of our body, but the body is going to be changed. It's going to be changed so that it can be in this. I mean, you talk about traveling in a 1,500 mile. You're in Jerusalem. Say you want to go across town. Well, you wouldn't be able to go across town, but we're going to be able to do it instantaneously, because that's the way Christ was. We're going to be like Christ was. He would just be one place and then he'd be another place. How he did that, I don't know. Is that craziness? No, I don't believe so. That's the way it was. So we're going to have a body just like his. John 5:28-29, "Do not marvel at this, for an hour is coming when all who are in the tombs will hear his voice come out of those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of judgment." Now, this is talking about the great white throne judgment that's coming, and everybody's going to be resurrected, and those that are resurrected and they're in the book of life, the bodies are going to come together with our spirit. Now, that happens also in the rapture, and there will be those that come out of the grave, and there will be those that just get taken up and will meet the Lord. So, same body, same qualities, but glorified. Christ's resurrection body was recognizable. Wounds in his hands. He could converse on the road to Emmaus. He did that. He ate. Passed through walls. Appeared in different forms, masking identity. Ascended directly into heaven in bodily form. We'll have that. 1 Corinthians 15:42-44. Earthly body is resurrected. The flesh cannot meet with the blood. The flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. Cannot inherit the kingdom of God. So the earthly body has to go from perishable to imperishable, from dishonor to glory, from weak to powerful, from natural to spiritual, from old to new. O death, where is your sting? Because this is going to go on. It has no sting. This resurrection is going to be complete in a glorified body, and God will transform our lowly body to be like his glorious body. That's in Philippians 3:21. Ageless, incorruptible, no pain. We've talked about that. Sorrow, brilliant in their splendor, shining like the shining. Christ would appear and disappear, then appear in a place. Our ability to travel will be instantaneous. Talk about an improved self-image. We will have it. We will all have it. You'll have a self-image that's a lot higher. Now, 1 Corinthians 7:29-31 Paul says, everything here is temporary and earthly and will pass away. So, he says, try to live without marriage. Try to live without mourning. Try to live without ownership. Try living without earthly rejoicing. It was kind of a way of saying, look, those things are going to all pass away, and that's where a lot of your anxieties and things are. You're not going to have that kind of stuff. That bothers people, the idea of no marriage. And the idea of, Well, it should bother you. I know some of you men are saying, well, that's why it's heaven. Not really. I know we all love our wives. I know you guys do. And it's hard to imagine that. And I had a hard time with that, and I was trying to understand that. Jesus said to the Sadducees, who really question the resurrection and which wife are you going to have, they posed that problem. He says, you don't understand the power of God. He can resurrect, and things will be different. There'll be no marriage like the angels, no procreating, no need for a helper, no need for a protector. Number of saints will be fixed. There won't be any procreating because it's all eternal. We're all eternal. So we're going to be a fixed population. Eternal companionship will be better than earthly partnership, and with everyone. It's going to be a more perfect love, or godly love. This would explain, and this is why as a young guy, I think about Christ and growing up, and he's young, and he's in the flesh. He must feel the same urges that I felt. He must have had to battle the same things I had to battle, and young men battle with. And then you had these portrayals of Christ. He was too close to John. He must have been homosexual, or he was too close to Mary Magdalene. She must have been a concubine. You saw these in the world's point of view with plays and things. And I can remember when I was in college thinking, well, yeah, the whole thing. But how did he do it? How did he do it? Well, that's a love that's beyond us again. We're in a heavenly love. It's a different kind of love. It's the love that Christ had for everybody, so he died for everybody. He didn't sit there and have this one's better than that one. At best we can put it is thinking about our children. You don't have hold one child over the other child. At least you shouldn't. But you don't. I just don't think true love does that. And that's the way Christ's love is. He was not all flesh. He was incarnate God. And so that love came, and that's why he was able to do what he did. And yes, he cried out, boy, if it not necessary, but I know it's your will, and I need to do this, and I'm going to do this because I love all of you, kind of a thing. It's amazing. That's the kind of love we're going to have. We're going to have that kind of a love. And it's going to surpass what we have at this point in time. And we will know each other. David looked forward to seeing his son. Transfigured saints of Moses and Elijah were recognized. I have this vision of, I've had it several times, of when I die, Christ's open arms welcoming me, and my son right behind him. Going to be in line, but he's going to be right there. He wants to welcome after Christ welcomes me. It's just a vision I have that I hold, and I think it's going to happen that way. Father, I desire that they also, this is John chapter 17, verses 20 to 25, I think. Father, I desire that they also, whom you have given me, may be with me where I am, to see my glory that you have given me because you loved me before the foundation of the world. That they all may be one as thou, Father, are in me, and I in them, that they also may be one in us, perfect with unity with the Father and the Son. We will be face to face with Christ and God and able to do this because we will be holy. We will be worshiping continuously in our lives, our eternal lives. It isn't going to be always just a congregational thing. We are going to be fellowshipping with God in person, Christ, with others, all of us in unity. It's going to be marvelous. And I look forward to it. I want to leave you with this. Philippians 3, 20 to 21. I'm going to come full circle. But our citizenship is in heaven, and from it we await a Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, who will transform our lowly body to be like His glorious body. How? by the power that enables him even to subject all things to himself. That power is the same power that I started out with my Holiness series in creation. So if you want to just visualize the power, the internal power, the awesomeness of God, look at the stars. And if you want to know how all this is going to happen, and the resurrection and everything, it's through the power of Jesus Christ, because everything is held together by him. And I look forward to that. And that, to me, is the greatest gift. Well, there are a lot of great gifts. I don't want to say my greatest. I cherish them all. And we are so blessed. We are just so blessed. And we have so much hope, and we have so much strength in God that can just take us through anything. So if you're having problems, man, put your focus on the eternal weight of glory and recognize that it's all temporary, momentary light affliction, and you'll make it through. And we'll all be there one day. We'll all fly away. Thank you.